And here we are.
Well, so we're going to talk about peace, in fact.
Peace.
And we had a little earlier conversation about it, and maybe we can just kind of pick up that a little bit. And one of the things about peace is that it's our nature. It's not something that's an abstract thing or is anything to do with the cessation of external conflict. That kind of peace, and the notions of fighting for peace. Peace is an internal thing. It's an inside job, right? But it's
Yeah,
our
actually,
nature.
I find that the peace can be when you're not thinking about yourself, when you're just with things as they are. And then, because to me, the conflict, the opposite of peace, comes from this sense of separation. And so you're in resistance with things or you're striving with things. And there's a kind of conflict at different degrees, different levels of conflict. It could just be that you're in traffic and you want to get to work and there's
Mhm.
traffic in front of you, so there's conflict.
Mhm.
And there's this sense of separation. There's me in my car, and then there's all of these bozos in their cars blocking my way. But when you're in peace, there isn't that. There's just peace, and there's no separation. And to me, it's to do with not thinking about myself or others particularly, just being with what is.
Yes, that's so essential, isn't it? To really find a space, a quiet kind of inner place, not with any intentions, not with any plan to become something. This one of the things that detracts and delays us in the recognition of our peaceful nature is beliefs. Beliefs keep us locked in a cycle of becoming and hoping and coping, and generally, you mentioned the word resistance. Uh, gosh, our our nature is peaceful, but our mind is conflictful, and all mind produces, because it's binary, it thinks in twos. It breaks up either or, good, bad, right, wrong, that kind of thing, right? And
Mm.
it will it won't cease. There's no method of stilling the mind. You can sort of go for some control there and try to manage it in ways that some whatever some people seem to follow, and there's some success in that, but eventually, as soon as you look the other way, there goes the control part. It's also, though, there's no need to control the mind. The nature of mind is to contrast and compare, right? So, and it contrasts and compares conceptually, symbolically. It uses language, in our case, English, to define and determine what the mind tells us is reality. And the mind telling us that it's reality is not anything more than a belief. In other words, if you remove belief, or if you just put it aside for a little bit, just sort of like park your belief, there's no believer. And in the absence of a believer, there's just what is.
Right. And that's the if there's a method, that would be parking the beliefs. And that seems to be the hardest thing for people to do because it's so ingrained. And also it's so useful. I mean, if we didn't have the compare and contrast, we wouldn't be able to navigate the world and deal with other people. So it has a purpose. And but sometimes it seems that it becomes the tail wagging the dog. And
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
it seeks control, and in seeking control runs into resistance and obstacles, and then friction, and then conflict. So I think one of the things that happens when you see the light, so to speak,
Yes.
is that the tail can no longer wag the dog. Now it's in its place. And whenever it tries to wag the dog, it's seen immediately. So it has nowhere to park its beliefs anymore. Beliefs just like they just arise and fall like everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't need to have any beliefs. There's no call for belief if you just kind of sit for a minute and let what is, the sounds, the feelings, the noise, the breeze, the cat, just whatever is happening to happen in this moment. I think there's a nice phrase, the immediate present.
Mm,
I like that. The immediacy of now. Um, it's not a far off abstract kind of a thing. It's very immediate, very real. And as we've talked about this, the obviousness of reality. When you see it, when you just simply recognize that you are not an idea and you are not a body, not limited to ideas, not limited to being a body. That's just one of the vehicles in time and space. And beautiful and wonderful as it is, it's limited by belief, as we were talking about. If we don't have any beliefs, all of a sudden our frontiers are gone. There's no center. There's no need to be a me who believes something, or it will become something, or even there's no need to be a me that does, because life itself is doing as always done. There's never been any control of it. In some way, we feel like we can or definitely need to control it. And one of the things that I've been reading a little bit just in, I don't know, in areas that interest me, which I tend to do, but that we're born fundamentally with a need to be safe. That's the instinctive need of life. The human form is we're looking to assure what we want and what we don't want in one way or the other. Desires and fears are related to instinctive insecurity. And that partly is quite normal. In other words, thankfully, we do have those needs for food, clothing, and shelter. And they're real. at the level of the body mind, they're very, very real. You don't need to ignore that. It's just the same as with our mind. We need the mind functionally to catch a bus or to meet with friends, to organize certain things, whatever. The functional parts of the mind, but it's the psychological part, the psychology of the mind, which has been corrupted. And we can get into how so and whatever, but just to kind of paint a picture of the mind as functioning well and necessary, but the psychology of the mind is the dysfunctional interpreter of experience. In other words, it's binary, it sifts and sorts and says, I like this, I don't like that. In fact, it's the very basis of I, me, the me that likes or doesn't like.
So it gets an intermittent peace whenever its needs are met. But
Yeah.
of course, the moment keeps moving, things keep falling away, everything is impermanent. So the peace that the mind is constantly seeking, the peace that the me is constantly seeking, it can never get because it's always impermanent. And then there's the peace in fact, which is what our being is. One of the facts of our being is that it's peace, it's love, it's inherently aware, and it radiates love and peace. That's just what it does. And then how that shows up for the body mind is the world. And then the body mind refracts that into binary forms of conflict and opposition, and then we get the play, we get the drama. Yeah.
So what are the obstacles to peace? I mean, we can go on, we can talk about it in so many ways, and maybe we will. If peace is available right now in this moment, it's what we are. Can we?
So the obstacles are kind of illusory in a way. They're conceptual. They're concepts, these obstacles, because there really isn't any obstacle to being. How could there be?
Yeah.
So there are just these machinations, these concepts that we construct in our mind about how things should be. Things should be a certain way, and it and couple that with this with the sense of separation, then that's the recipe for peace being obscured. So peace can be obscured in the way that the clouds might obscure the sun. If we're down on the earth, i.e., if we're in our minds and we don't see the sun, we assume there's no sun up there, and the world just looks dark and conflicted. And in a sense, that's the way the world looks right now. Everywhere you look is conflict.
Yes.
But we're actually the sun, and clouds, we never see clouds. Clouds they don't even really exist for the sun. And to come to that is very simple. It's like you say, we just come back to being with what is. There's an inherent peace there. It's 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 so simple in a way, but there's so much drama, and the drama is in a way attractive to the me. The me kind of wants drama to
Yes,
make it feel real.
yes, yes, for sure. And the drama is a, I'll say a need, because I certainly have experienced it in my life, what we call desires and fears. What we want, what we don't want. It creates a certain tension, a kind of dramatic tension. And, for a little while when I got my BMW, I was happy, kind of thing. It seems like objects can bring peace. And so it's a huge um, chase that we get involved in: consumption, consumerism, object and events and experiences are the thought to be what will make us happy. And really, when we want to be happy, what does that really mean? It means basically we want not to want. Yeah, and so you could say that peace is an absence of need,
Mm,
just just a simple absence of need.
yeah. It's funny. I mean, there's a kind of a trend, or maybe I'm just noticing it more than usual, where people who are seeking inner peace and bliss and love are turning to psychedelic drugs to get that. And it's for me, it's just another way that the me is trying to satisfy itself.
Yeah.
And the proof of the pudding is in the fact that you do this drug, whatever it is, DMT5 or whatever that the toad poison is. You get this blissed out state, the oneness and the indescribable, unspeakable. You come back, and then you come back, and there's a residue, and then it's gone. And then there's having to go back and do another one. And it's like seeking, just chasing, it's the dog, it's the tail wagging the dog again. If that toad venom really did its job, you would only need to do it once, right? To
Mhm.
discover what you are. If that's what you're discovering, you would only need to do that once, and then it would always be with you.
Mhm.
But obviously, that's not what is happening. They're having a conditioned state, no matter how blissful or divine,
Mhm.
it's still conditioned. It's under the laws of time and space.
Mhm.
And even though the state might be timeless, there's this return to time and space. There's no recognition of timelessness as being what you are. So again, it's a search for peace, but in the wrong direction. And all
Mhm.
of those chemicals we have in our bodies in trace amounts, and they can be accessed through different channels. One doesn't have to go to Mexico and do this. One can just sit in a room with a good meditation teacher, and he can show you how to access those states. But those states are just transitory. They come and they go, and that's not what this is about. This is about peace in fact, right? Facts don't come and go. Facts are facts, madam.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And a fact is never personal. I think that helps to clarify. Well, what do you mean by fact? Well, a fact is not personal. It doesn't require um, you to give it validity. What is, with or without any sort of consent by a supposed me. accepting it or denying it. You know, neither acceptance nor denial is what Walt Whitman said about awakening. There's another sort of addictive aspect, and that is the brain or the mind or knowledge. And you go there looking for peace. Peace in someday becoming, through efforts, something other than what you are now, right? There was a process in one of the schools I was in, self-remembering was presented to me and thought about as efforts to become. I mean, not even when I was involved in self-remembering, but in my understanding of what it must be, I would kind of like figure out that I needed to do this to become that. And that's another drug. What it is we're looking for an explanation, some way, show me, tell me. We're looking for an authority outside of ourselves to give us the peace, love, joy, beauty that we actually are. And we don't even give it to ourselves. We recognize the false, and in the recognition of the false as the false, what's left is reality, truth, beauty, peace, love, and joy. You don't think about them. You don't invent them. There's no you to do that. There's actually just a bundle of beliefs called me or ego, abstract or absent that just for a moment, just for a glimpse, and peace arises and beauty arises, because out of love comes beauty. There's the way we think about things like beauty and love, and we'll maybe get into them much more deeply, is such that we're conditioned that certain, say, men look handsome and certain women look beautiful, just to use an everyday experience, right? And that's what beauty is. There it is. And we've been conditioned to believe that that is what beauty is. Similarly, even in our food, we're conditioned to like and dislike, and we're habits. We're just a bundle of habits that we bring to experience, and that experience generates itself. In other words, yesterday's experience, the way we felt yesterday about all of these things, all of our conditioning, that whole structure of meeting experience shapes today. And today is a repeat of yesterday. It's exactly the same. We still hate the same way. We still have our fears in the same way. It's something to observe in awareness, in the passing nature of things and events and experiences and thoughts, to observe that from awareness, which is, I'll say, a knowing, but there's no knower. So, and again, you need to come at these things sometimes from many directions, but a knowingless knowing. We can talk more about awareness only from awareness. In other words, if we just intellectualize what awareness must be, we can kind of tick off a few intellectual check kind of ideas about awareness. But awareness is a constant presence that is akin to wonder in word speak. There's always a wonder and a curiosity in awareness. It's engaged, it's affectionate.
Yeah, so often it's characterized as a child.
Yes,
It's
yes,
often
engaged.
characterized that way. There's a kind of because it's open, it's completely open to experience, whatever that experience is.
Yeah,
And so there's a certain, some people might think of it as a kind of vulnerability, but there can't be anything vulnerable about being pure being. But it is absolutely open. It's not afraid of anything. Nothing can touch it, and it wants to experience everything. And that seems to be the modus operandi. I think that's why there's so many different kinds of beings on our planet, the animals and the plants and people. And it's just ways for being to explore, and because everything's kind of emerging out of this now. So everything is constantly new. And so everything is to be explored without any limits on what can be explored. And that produces an incredible amount of peace when you know that that's what you are and that's what's going on. It starts to reconcile a lot of seeming contradictions. The contradictions of that opposites bring. And this understanding reconciles those. It
yeah,
neutralizes them. Because we don't see the big picture as humans. As humans, we just see fragmented moments, like snowflakes, and they just disappear on impact. And so it's hard to build up the big picture from that. But being, which is outside of time, from one angle, everything's already happened for being.
totally, totally, totally.
And that's where the peace, I think, comes from that innate recognition that everything has already been resolved,
Yes, yes.
and
And
it's
there's no
peace.
need to control.
Yeah, control doesn't even come into the picture.
No, no. There's no controller, because there's no need to control. It's like there's no need to believe, therefore there's no believer.
Right.
There's not a
There's the
center.
illusion of control and the illusion of a believer,
Yes,
and the illusion of a controller. They're just fabrications of the mind.
yeah,
They're okay, they have a certain place, but they're not, once you see through them, you can never unsee that. People will twist your arm and say, how can you say that I'm not in control of my life?
mm,
Take a look, take a close look for yourself, is what I would say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that recognition, um, that you do not have, there's no you, but forget that even. There's just no control. Um, we assign something out of our fear. We assign um, an authority or authorities who in some way are controlling things, and we feel more reassured in some way at there is no force that's stronger than the primal nature of our being. And that's not just me or you or anybody who's listening or whatever. Reality itself is inevitable. That is, it has an inevitability about it that no matter what one may think and fear and wish and hope, they're into a fight with reality that cannot be won.